There are always a few surprises every year when it comes to the film industry, but one that nobody accounted for was that the King of the Monsters would also be the King of 2023. Because not only is Godzilla Minus One now the highest grossing Japanese film in US history, it's also the biggest Hollywood wake-up call we've ever seen. Somehow, it took a complete force of nature to remind studio executives of the most straightforward lesson in the entire entertainment business. Money talks. If you told me 10 years ago that in 2023 the most substantial box office failures would be Ant-Man, The Flash, and The Marvels, I'd be putting you into a straitjacket and driving you to a mental hospital myself. Because let's face it, for a long time there, things were smooth sailing when it came to the modern blockbuster, especially the superhero film. Even after they overstayed their welcome and began to lose direction, they would still go on to become massive moneymakers for their respective studios every single time they were released. This put us in a seemingly never-ending loop of blockbuster mediocrity, and if you think about it, it kinda makes sense why this happened. Why would these big studios have any motivation to improve upon their tried and true formula if every time they release a new film, it's a massive box office smash? Let's use Marvel as an example. Thor: Love and Thunder, one of the MCU's most recent projects that has been constantly condemned online for having some of the franchise's most janky-looking visual effects and feeling like a 2-hour-long SNL skit, still made over $760 million when it was all said and done. That's a whole lot of cash for a movie that many rank as one of the worst in the entire Marvel catalog. A big reason for that happening is that the vast majority of the people who are complaining about the state of big budget filmmaking are also the same people flocking to the cinema to see the project in question on opening night. And trust me, I am plenty guilty of that myself. But this cycle has allowed Hollywood to really stay in their comfort zone in recent years. They got lazy. And look, I love Marvel. That's why this gets my blood boiling, because we've all seen what they're capable of when the proper time, effort, and passion are put into their projects. Infinity War and Endgame are some of the most impressive and intricate examples of mainstream storytelling in cinematic history. I mean, come on, they expertly weaved over a decade of filmmaking into an epic 2-part finale filled with incredible visuals and character development. But at some point, we knew the well was gonna run dry. All we seem to get now are redundant, uninspired, and watered-down entries where it seems like it has essentially become a paint-by-numbers process. There's no room for innovation, stick to the template, go with what worked before, and it'll be an easy win, right? But judging by Godzilla Minus One's success, people aren't interested in seeing the same old regurgitated slop anymore. And for the first time in years, they're letting Hollywood know that through the only means they can. Their wallets. What these studios think audiences want to see and what they actually want to see are now two completely different ideas. Moviegoers won't buy a ticket to just anything these days, and where they're deciding to spend their money is sending a very clear message. Something has to change. Things start to get interesting when you realize that Godzilla Minus One had a reported budget of only $15 million, and there are rumors swirling around that it cost even less to make than that. For anyone who doesn't really have a concept of how much a large-scale monster movie with impressive CGI should cost, let me put it as plainly as possible. That's absolute pocket change. This film leaves even the most casual movie-going audience scratching their head, because how can a movie this monumental cost this little, while also looking so much better than its competition in every possible way? To put things in perspective here, you would have to increase the film's budget 14 times over to match The Marvels, 20 times over to match Dial of Destiny, and 23 times over to match Fast 10. How anyone in their right mind allowed a movie in that franchise to become the 8th most expensive film ever made is completely beyond me, but that's a rant for another time. In all seriousness, if you put any of the movies that I just mentioned side by side with Godzilla Minus One, you're gonna quickly realize something painfully obvious. Hollywood should feel embarrassed. This is finally making people ask the question, where the hell is all of that money actually going? I think it's safe to assume that the production companies behind this country's biggest movie franchises have thousands upon thousands of VFX artists under their employment to churn out whatever computer-generated shots they might need. So tell me how they got put in their place by this team of 35 people that worked on Godzilla Minus One's visuals. You heard that number correctly, 35! So you can comprehend how truly insane of a notion that is. That's like if your local Little League baseball team took on the New York Yankees and somehow gave them a beatdown they'll never forget. But I think we're going to be seeing this happen more and more as time goes on. As technology advances rapidly, it kind of removes the need for a huge visual effects department to achieve high-quality digital shots and sequences. So the studios that decide to support their artists with time and resources are likely to win big at the box office going forward. Godzilla Minus One is an obvious testament to the power of vision over excessive spending, challenging the industry to reconsider its priorities and remember why it got into the movie-making business in the first place. What's crazy is that this notion is even further exemplified when you look at the differences between the Japanese Godzilla and the US Godzilla properties that are right in front of us. The American version of the character that we have today in the MonsterVerse follows the unfortunate trend of every larger-than-life villain in Hollywood over recent years. There's no emotional depth, it's all style over substance, and the characters involved feel like wrestlers fighting in a big-budget Super Smash Bros. Arena more than anything else. I mean, you're half expecting to see Godzilla hit one of the monsters across the back with a folding chair. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy those films for what they are, but Godzilla Minus One presents the titular monster as a force of pure destruction and chaos. Stripped of any agenda to sell merchandise or play the role of a benevolent guardian, this rendition showcases Godzilla as an unbridled force, unapologetically demonstrating the raw power and menace that the character was originally conceived to embody. He's ugly, he's pissed off, and he's ready to turn your city into his own personal sandbox. You've seen what this version of the character looks like and what he's capable of, and not to mention the areas he's ripping through are full of characters we actually give a shit about. But his design in this movie is the stuff of nightmares, and the atomic breath sequence will go down as the most terrifying 2023 had to offer. The film's approach really challenges the played-out narrative we see all too often in American adaptations, opting for a Godzilla that is not a hero but a formidable and relentless presence, unleashing havoc without the constraints of a humanized persona. This stark departure in characterization highlights the versatility of the iconic monster and offers a refreshing perspective, one that emphasizes the filmmaker's commitment to authenticity and a return to the roots of Godzilla's narrative origins. In a promising twist of fate, the film industry seems to be heeding the warning heralded by films like Godzilla Minus One. The strategic shifts in release schedules speak volumes about the public's impact in forcing Hollywood to reassess its priorities and hopefully embrace a more perceptive approach. The fact that Deadpool 3 stands as the sole Marvel movie slated for release this year hints at a potential departure from the industry's typical inundation of superhero blockbusters. Moreover, the anticipation surrounding James Gunn's new vision for the DC universe, set to unfold in 2025 with Superman Legacy, indicates a deliberate pause in the relentless pursuit of quantity over quality. Regardless of my personal excitement associated with those two projects, I'd be lying if I said that generic superhero formula fatigue wasn't fully set in. Audience expectations are evolving, and we expect the studios to evolve in tandem. And that starts with delivering thoughtful narratives and innovative storytelling rather than saturating the market with the same repetitive blockbuster formula. While the industry's response is obviously still in its extremely early stages, let's not give anyone too much credit just yet, these changes in release strategies offer up a small glimmer of hope. It also signals that Godzilla Minus One has even more potential to influence the landscape down the line, challenging Hollywood to redefine success by actually prioritizing substance and creative innovation. As the industry navigates this transformative juncture, we may start to witness a resurgence of cinematic artistry and a departure from the oversaturation that has unfortunately characterized recent years. The possibility of a new era in blockbuster filmmaking, where audience intellect and a thirst for original narratives take precedence, as it should have all along, could be on the horizon. At the end of the day, Hollywood's long-standing reign of recycling familiar stories adorned with flashy visuals has reached a critical turning point. point. The era of the same old song and dance is waning, and Godzilla Minus One emerges as a seismic 20,000-ton wake-up call for the industry. This low-budget triumph doesn't merely represent an extremely successful film, it signifies a powerful catalyst for change that can't be ignored. It challenges Hollywood to reassess its norms, urging a reevaluation of priorities and a paradigm shift toward meaningful storytelling. Godzilla Minus One stands as a testament to the evolving demands of a discerning audience, setting the stage for a more innovative and authentic period in filmmaking. As the giant lizard roars, it echoes a sentiment that reverberates through Tinseltown: adapt or face extinction.